Rate yourself on a scale, classic scale of 1 to 10. And then what consistently do you get to do in each of those areas, especially the ones that are falling a little bit lower below the threshold, to raise them up, right? What are the routines you get into? And then surround yourself with men who are doing those things. That makes it even easier. They've done so many studies that, for example, if you hang out with runners, odds are you're going to become a runner. Conversely, if you hang out with guys that just eat pizza and drink beer all day, you are probably going to end up eating pizza and drinking beer just by association. So, I mean, that's the power of the brotherhood and the other men that are in the movement, just being together, establishing those relationships and being around other high performers who are always bettering themselves. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the TPM Show. I am joined once again with my co-host with the most, Tim Matthews. Good to have you back on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you making the time. I know you've got a tight schedule. Argentina's coming up. You've got a hell of a lot on your plate in the lead up to getting prepared for that. And then I know you've got some time with the family as well after that. So I know it's not easy for you to make time for this. Ideally, it would be in person, right? But we're not. Here we are. So I appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. Always love doing these with you. And I think by the time this actually comes out, I will be flying back that 24-hour flight back from Argentina, the Inner Circle event. So for those guys who are listening to this that aren't involved or aren't alumni or directly involved in the movement, the reason I'm going to Argentina along with, 3 other coaches. So we got Arthur Maguglianiti, Brad Holt, and Mark Hainsworth. We are leading, I want to say we have 40-some guys that are going to be there. So men that are in one of 3 of our programs, the Brotherhood. It's a 12-month mastermind group. The Inner Circle is a higher level group. They'll stay on an extra few days. And then some of our one-on-one clients are going to be joining us as well. And so we'll be going out there for epic fun, adventure, as well as some education. We have 3 days of education and training, advanced training for these guys planned that Arthur and I are going to be taking them through. So I'm excited about it. And by the time you guys listen to this, I'll probably be coming back home my wife will be handing the kids readily to me, my 4-year-old, my 6-year-old, ready for me to take them over, go right back into dad duty.
Yeah, it's going to be an epic trip, I'm excited for the content that you've got planned as well. I think the guys are going to get massive shifts from it. Don't want to big it up too much. Well, in fairness, this comes out after the event, so it's fine. But yeah, I think the guys are going to really enjoy it. And then, yeah, like you said, you will be straight back into dad duty. And yeah, it's a lot, but you do a fantastic job. I always love seeing you in action as a father. Always learn so much.
Being a dad can be great, as all the dads on here know, but it can also, there's a flip side to it. It's kind of like being married, right? Being married can be great, but there can be a flip side to that too. I was up late with the kids last night, hence the bags under the eyes. It's been about 4 nights in a row with dealing with kids at night. But anyway, let's talk about consistency, and not the consistency of not sleeping like I'm doing, but the consistency of doing the work. And you had we were having a conversation offline, or at least before we hit record here. Kick it off for us, Tim.
Yeah. So obviously, obviously the listeners may not know, but one of the areas that we talk a lot about in the programs in the background within TPM is this idea of grounded masculinity. And we're going to be bringing it more onto the show. And one of the key pieces of that is consistency. And it came up yesterday with the men in the Inner Circle. So every week we take them through a breakthrough and accountability call, if you will. And yesterday we took them through some breathwork practice, which is one of the key components getting into their body of grounded masculinity. And afterwards, they all had different experiences, but they all had very profound experiences. The insights that they got themselves. I mean, as coaches, we didn't guide them or ask them any particular questions at all. But typically within the practice, insights come up, right? You know, Doug, you've delivered a lot of these, and like just for you, the guys also get powerful, profound experiences and insights. So naturally, when they're sharing all these experiences, the question then becomes, why the hell do you guys not have a consistent practice? And they all look dumbfounded. I'm like, listen, guys, can you not just listen for a minute, everything you're all sharing about the insights and how profound this is, it's stupid. It's illogical that you would not have a consistent practice. If you found something in your business that produced you these results consistently, every time you did it, chances are you do it again and again and again. So therefore, why are you not doing the same with your own practice? And they couldn't answer, but the penny dropped. It landed for them, which I'm pleased about. I think that's an issue that a lot of men that we work with anyway face, this idea of consistency. They struggle with it. And I think, especially within grounded masculinity, a key component of it is it's a practice. It's not something you can do once. It's like your fitness. And your experience is going to look different every day. Like your workouts, they're going to look different. Sometimes you'll go heavier, sometimes you won't, right? But the key is you show up and you make the practice a practice. And yeah, I wanted to talk about that and lean into it because I think, like I said, a lot of the listeners probably also struggle with consistency.
Yeah, why do you think people struggle with it?
Excuses. I don't have time.
Say more.
Yeah, a lot of them will say I don't have time, which I think there's time constraints for sure. But like you always say, show me your calendar, I'll show you your priorities. A lot of them have time, they just choose not to do it. So I think that's one issue. And I think the other issue is the other excuse they tell themselves is, well, I don't know how. That doesn't fly for the guys within our community because they have so many masterclasses they can access and listen to, breathwork masterclasses and such. They have playlists that we've given them. So yeah, okay, they may not necessarily have tons of different guided audios, but on the flip side, they've also been guided through lots of experiences. So they know how to do it if they gave themselves a little bit of credit. And I think as well, it's one of those basics, isn't it? Something that's so easy to do and so easy not to do. And as a result, I think they often begin to chase shiny objects. And instead of being an inch wide and a mile deep, they become a mile wide and an inch deep. So they never really give anything a chance to get going. They don't really get into momentum with it because they're on to the next thing.
Interesting. So what do you think, Tim, stops a man that knows what he should be doing, right? I'll use the word should purposefully here, knows what he should be doing, has the time, right? Could be using the excuse of time, could be using the excuse of how. But what do you think actually is the impetus for him not taking action?
Ooh.
What's the real reason?
Could be a couple, right? One that comes to mind, though, is self-sabotage.
Okay.
I think a lot of the guys that we work with experience this, right? They'll start to do something that works, and then sometimes they'll just stop doing it, whether it's in the relationship, whichever territory it may be. They can often just stop doing the thing that works. And oftentimes in the relationship, that can be because they get into a good groove of things working, and they're not used to it being calm within the relationship, just like they're not used to it being calm in the business. So therefore, they'll find a way to create some chaos so they can swoop in and save the day, from which they'll then gain significance. They can be the hero again. And they also get addicted to the chaos and the excitement that comes from it. Yet, it's not a cycle that they necessarily enjoy or serves them. I think that can be true as well within this particular piece. And feeding into that is upper limits, right? Self-image, how they see themselves and what they feel worthy of receiving and what they're intentionally inviting into their life. Because upper limits can come in for them if they allow it to be unconscious, right? It can come in and take effect, which can then lead to self-sabotage. But equally at the same time, they can push through that as well, especially the men in our community, because they have coaches, they have association to other men. So there's really no excuse for those guys because they have so many resources to be able to break through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting when you talked about a lot of subjects here, right? One is we have excuses, what people say. You know, it's kind of that idea. People say, I don't have enough time, yet we all have the same amount of time in a day. It becomes priorities, right? What are your priorities that you're choosing to do? And something that I'll talk with the guys about, and I'll talk about this in my own life, is standards. What are your standards? What are the standards that you live by? And one of the things I stepped in to, ran an alpha reset, which is our flagship immersion experience we're doing right here at the TPM Ranch. And yeah, I say this a lot. And the funny thing about this is I said, hey, have any of you guys tried heroin? And I always get, no, 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 no. I had one guy's like, yeah, actually, fentanyl. And he was a recovering addict. Great guy. And I said, okay, but I just continued on, if I offered you heroin now, would you take it? He's like, heck no. And everybody else, of course, no. And I also asked him, I said, look, if you were blackout drunk, first I say, who's been blackout drunk? Every guy raises their hand. They've been drunk, at least, not blackout necessarily. I said, great, you're drunk, you're inebriated, and I lay heroin down and offer it to you. How many of you guys are taking it? Everyone's adamant. No way. I wouldn't touch it. Absolutely not. No possibility that I would do that. So great. So you've established heroin as this thing that you will not touch no matter what the circumstances, including the guy who is recovering, right? But I've done this with literally hundreds upon hundreds of men. Always the same answer. No way. No matter how out of it I am, drunk, whatever, I'm not touching heroin. It's a no-go for me. So if you can do that with heroin, why can't you do that with other areas of your life? Why can't you create other standards within your life that are no-goes? Back in my former life in the fitness industry, I still know a lot of guys who are my age who are fit as heck. Because for them, if they don't see their linea alba, which is that line that goes across your abs, that's too fat for them. That's just a standard. And I think we get to define what our standards are as men. And it could be in your relationship, your marriage. Like maybe your marriage can't fall below an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe that's your standard. And when it does, you do something active about it. Or maybe it's your level of happiness. Maybe it's your fitness. Maybe, we go through all 5 territories, right, Tim? So self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. Where are your standards and where do they lie? And I think most men haven't defined this. And so therefore it's easy for their standards to slip.
Yeah, I love that. You make a great point. Goes to the point of how you see yourself, right? How you see yourself in the world and how you show up. It has to be intentionally created.
Yep.
Not just once, but every day, right? You get to intentionally carve that out. We have a lot of guys, ARS, Alpha, Rise, and Shine, one of the principles and tools we give the men in the activation method for relationships. That becomes a standard for them. That becomes a non-negotiable for them. So it's great to see, right? But they intentionally create that every day, even when it's not easy and it's hard. They get up, they go for that walk and whatever else is involved in it, and they create consistency.
Yeah. So when you look at this, you look at these standards or consistency that are coming here. Give the guys a couple, things that they could be consistent about. If a guy's listening to this and he's resonating, and he's saying, hey, look, I haven't been consistent, but I'm not sure what areas of my life I should start looking at. Where would you start?
Ooh, I'd start with morning routine. I think that's such a game changer, actually getting something in place that works for you. It's going to look different for everybody, right? Be it the duration, be it what's included within it. But just one of the things that the men tell me often that really makes a difference for them within the Alpha, Rise, and Shine is that morning walk, right? Just getting up and getting out the door for just 10 minutes. Fresh air. They wake up, and from that they're able to then go and journal or breathe or whatever it may be. But just start there, and whatever it is for you, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be. But that's one thing that I think would be a huge game changer.
Okay, so we got the Alpha, Rise, and Shine, or the morning routine. You got 2 more here. So, okay, a guy's doing a morning routine. There's a lot of them out there. Obviously, we teach the Alpha, Rise, and Shine, which guys can go back through old podcasts and listen to where we break down why it's alpha and what alpha stands for. Give me 2 more, Tim, that you're seeing, especially, let's take it up a notch. The guys at the inner circle who are playing, it's our highest level mastermind group. They're playing at a very high level. Those guys are crushing it. They're getting a lot more coaching and accountability to push them and held to a higher standard. However, If you're talking directly to those men as a group, give those guys 2 more.
Their ability to reflect. They do this well, they're okay with this, but actually having a consistent schedule in place where they're reviewing their week effectively. And they do a good job with the coil, the chat of intentional living. They always come prepared to those calls with the coil score and their wins and their lessons and how they're going to get uncomfortable the following week. However, they could do a much better job of it. I was literally just got off a coaching call with a very successful entrepreneur, and that's what he identified for him as the one thing that would move the needle, because he would live in the gain a lot more. He would stack the wins. He would pass that energy on to his team. He would realize a lot more things. So reflection is one of the keys, not just weekly, but monthly, quarterly, to keep them aligned. And the second thing would be to the inner circle guys, the transition from work mode to relationship mode, whether that's the alpha decompression, but that's something that they often struggle with, switching those energies up. You've spoken about having that sign on either side of your door. When you enter your office, it says it's game time. When you leave your office, it's playtime, right? We've spoken about using clothes and other things as ways to really anchor in the fact that you're ending your work day and you transition into a different role and a different energy. And that's something I think those guys could do a little bit better with, especially when it comes to them being more flirtatious and spontaneous and playful with the wife or the partner.
Well, there you go. Excellent. Yeah, when I think about this, and I'm sorry, so coming through, I got guys printing letters right next to me that they apparently didn't print. They're looking in the window, hence me shaking my head. No, I'm not shaking it to you. It's too funny. Real life stuff, right? We have an alpha reset going on right next door in the main building on the TPM ranch, which is fabulous. So, except for little nuances sometimes, little details. I think it's really interesting when I look at, my life and consistency. Right now, I would say I'm the least consistent I've probably been in 20 some years. And the reason, or my excuse, I guess, would be that I'm chalking it up to a season, these last 2 years especially, but a season in life going through. And I think as men, from my own reflection, I love your idea of reflection, is looking at, is this a season or is it an excuse? And if it's a season, great. You can own that. And there's a season for everything. In fact, I was talking to one of the guys in the Brotherhood, Pacheco, yesterday, or just a message to him. He's got a new baby. So he's not sleeping. His wife's not sleeping. I was like, hey, it's a season. You're in a season. You're in a season where this is coming. You knew it was coming. Own it, accept it, surrender to it, as you would say, Tim, and move on. But the key with seasons, in my opinion, is a season has an end time. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can continuously be in that season. You need to have kind of a line in the sand, if you will, saying this season's over for me, right? Or this season's ending at this time. And the issue for a lot of guys, myself included here, is it's easy to allow a season to drag on, right? It's kind of like, working out again. When you start working out again, you get sore again. Well, if you've neglected your marriage, it's going to be tough getting back in the groove. Date nights are going to be a little cumbersome. If you neglected your business, sometimes it's tougher getting back in the office and working those long hours if you need to do it. Whatever it is for you, or for most of our men, it's the opposite, right? It's tougher not to work. It's like, wait a minute, what do I do now that I don't have to be in the office at 7 to 7? What do I do with my time? And so I think when you delineate a season, right, we talk about consistency, you get to go back into those routines. And to your point, Tim, the alpha rise and shine is a great way of getting it started. And sometimes you ruffle feathers, because people get used to you behaving in whatever way you were when you weren't being consistent. Or if you add in breath work, right, something probably has to come out, right, of your day, just the reality of it. And it could be something simple like you eat breakfast with the family, now you do breath work, or you go for a walk and now you do breath work, whatever it is. But something gets to change. And I just want the guys to know when they get that pushback, that's okay, right? You're here to be the best version of yourself so you can show up better for everybody else.
Yeah, it's that piece on reflection. I firmly believe that you are your greatest teacher, especially someone like you, brother, who knows what questions to ask himself. Like you're in such a great position, right? That person that is able to do that because you know yourself better than anybody. Typically, we know the stories we tell ourselves, we know the excuses we make, we know our patterns, we know all of it. However, if we don't give ourselves those moments to zoom out, it's very difficult to gain perspective. And therefore, it's very easy for every day to blur into the next. And before you know it, you don't realize you've been in a certain way for however long, and time has just passed by. So yeah, those moments in time to reflect. I don't reflect. I guess I do reflect on the day as much, but it's more so in my ARS. But those weekly ones, especially the wins, so easy to just forget the wins. So easy. Especially as business owners, entrepreneurs, spend so much time solving problems. So easy to forget. And that directly feeds your energy. If you always feel like you're behind, then it's very easy to then become more short-tempered, more irritable, lowers your mood. You can take that mood home. You can take it into the team. So, you know me, I'm a massive fan of reflection. And yeah, typically something's got to come out if you're going to put something in. But it's very difficult to be consistent without reflection. It's like fitness. Those people, linear alba, that's their litmus test, right? In that moment, they're reflecting, hey, is my linear alba showing or not? If they never checked in on the linear alba, they'd never have anything to reflect on, and they wouldn't know whether they're on track or off track or not. Obvious example, but it's so true. That's that's part of their reflection in their health and fitness. So without it, you're going to struggle to be. Anyone is going to struggle to be consistent without some kind of reflection.
Absolutely. Yeah, to be clear, I've never my entire life seen my linear alba.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't think it exists. Awesome advice. So, I mean, guys, when you're coming out of this and you're listening to this episode, if any of this resonates with you, you know, I think what you want to do is sit down, reflect, but look at the areas of your life. Look at the 5 territories: self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. And I'll throw in there fun, right? Because a lot of the men that we talk to have forgotten how to have fun. So look at those areas and then rate yourself on a classic scale of 1 to 10. And then what consistently do you get to do in each of those areas, especially the ones that are falling a little bit lower below the threshold, to raise them up, right? What are the routines you get into? And then surround yourself with men who are doing those things. That makes it even easier. Right? They've done so many studies that, for example, if you hang out with runners, odds are you're going to become a runner. Conversely, if you hang out with guys that just eat pizza and drink beer all day, you are probably going to end up eating pizza and drinking beer just by association. So, I mean, that's the power of the brotherhood and the other men that are in the movement, just being together, establishing those relationships and being around other high performers who are always bettering themselves.
So true. And
Tim, any parting words for these fine men?
Yeah, one thing I'm going to add, when you reflect, you can't give yourself a 7 out of 10. Eliminate 7 from that scale. 7 is on the fence. Either be 6 or lower or 8 or above. Commit to being good or bad, not indifferent.
I love that. I've been using that a lot lately, and everybody picks 7. It's crazy. Where are you in your marriage? Well, not marriage lately, because the guys we work with, it's lower. But where are you in other areas? And guys are always like 7, 7, 7. I'm like, okay, what if you couldn't be a 7? Where would you be? And I would say 9 times out of 10, they drop down to a 6.
It's very revealing when you take out that 7.
It is. Well, Tim, I love having you on here again, buddy. Looking forward to you getting back into the U.S. so you can be sitting right at the table behind me, having these conversations, these discussions. They're fun doing them here while you're in the UK and I'm in the States, but at the same time, it's always great having you here at the TPM Ranch. Gentlemen, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on the TPM show.